Hi, in this video we're going to walk through the process of configuring and validating financial reporting for your solution. To proceed, you'll need to have a solution deployed and processed. You can refer back to the previous videos in this series if you need help with that. Now that you've successfully deployed and processed your solution, the final step is to configure and validate financial reporting. To perform this validation, there is a suite of template reports provided, including some trial balance variants. While we'll be using these templates for validation here, they also provide the foundation for some reports we'll create in later videos. Start by opening the trial balance of your choice. More information about each one is provided in the tooltip. Each of these reports should reconcile with your ERP. If they don't, please review our validation documentation or contact support. Once the initial validation has been performed, we can move on to the remaining configuration. Start by opening the CFO dashboard in the General Ledger folder of your solution in the Resource Explorer. You'll see a series of errors displayed here, as the source reporting hierarchies still need to be mapped. Click Review Calculations on the bottom of the screen to begin this process. This will show you a list of calculations that need to be mapped for financial reporting and their current state. Click on a calculation to begin the mapping process. This will open the calculation where you can see a field for the account mapping here. To complete this, we need to select the appropriate members from the dimension tree on the right. Because our chart of accounts has been configured within our ERP, all of the necessary accounts are available here. If your chart of accounts is configured outside of your ERP, please contact support from the menu here and we'll be in touch to help you finish your configuration. You can also use this option to raise a support ticket anytime you get stuck. For our data, we have a simple mapping for cost of goods sold to a single member. We can simply drag this into the placeholder, click Apply, and save the calculation. Returning to the Review Calculation screen, you'll see there is now a green tick to indicate the mapping has been completed for this member. For some calculations, the mapping will require multiple accounts. For our accounts payable here, there are 2 accounts required. To make it easier to find these, we can search in the account level of the hierarchy on the dimension tree. First, select the item to trigger the search in selection mode, and then type in the search box as shown. I know the 2 account codes start with 21, so I'll use that to filter the list down. Scrolling down, I can now see the accounts I need and drag the first one into the placeholder. To map more than one account, we need to treat them as a sum and add them together in the placeholder. We can do this by tapping plus and selecting Add from the drop-down menu. We can then complete the mapping by dragging the second account into the placeholder, clicking Apply, and saving the calculation. In some cases, mapping will require quite a few accounts, as shown here for inventory. To avoid having to individually add these together, we can instead use a sum calculation. Type sum in the placeholder and select it from the drop-down. This will place a sum calculation in the placeholder, which we can then populate with the set of accounts for inventory. To do this, we can individually drag our accounts into the set placeholder, or shift-click to select more than one at a time and drag them into the set placeholder. This will automatically create a set of those accounts. Finally, to complete this, we need to apply this calculation at every level and save. Once all calculations have been mapped as shown here, we can return to the CFO dashboard and click Refresh to use our updated mappings. With all of our mappings complete, the errors have been corrected and this dashboard is ready to use. We can also validate these mappings by using the Mapping Validation dashboard. This is located in the General Ledger folder of your solution. You can see it shows tables with rows for each one of our mappings and a simple measure. By double-clicking on the measure value, this will drill through into a trial balance report for that mapping, where each individual account is displayed. Validate these against your ERP to ensure all the correct accounts have been captured. You can also drill through further for transaction level details by right-clicking and choosing Create Detail Report. If you need to update these mappings, they can be found in the Mapping folder within General Ledger. You can also open the Review Calculation screen at any time by right-clicking on the Mapping folder and selecting it from the Resource Tools menu. A template P&L has also been provided as part of the solution. On opening it, you will notice an error, requiring you to map a few members before proceeding. This is similar to the steps we just performed for the CFO dashboard, but each of these is a single member mapping as opposed to a formula. This allows us to expand each of these members in the finished report. Complete the mappings when prompted by dragging on the appropriate member and clicking Apply. With these mappings completed, the P&L template will now display. You'll notice the rows are expandable because of the use of individual member mappings. Validate this P&L against your reference P&L from your ERP. You may now want to take some time to review the financial reports we have configured, or move on to our next video on creating your own financial reports.